What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the BTR podcast.
Welcome to part one of a podcast episode. Reason being because the NHL trade deadline decided to happen 2 days early, I guess. But yeah, so we're going to talk about NHL trade deadline in this pod. Next pod will be our NFL, NBA, and the other sports news that we missed. Obviously, UCL happened this week as well. But let's get into the pre-deadline, if you want to. That's the best way I could say it.
What happened that this episode was supposed to be our trade deadline preview. Half the targets ended up getting traded.
Turned out to be a post show, I guess.
Yeah, but obviously there's still some big names left. So we'll start off with the trades that happened. Who early winners and losers maybe. But again, there's no real loser yet because there's still time. And we'll talk about the names that are possibly that need to get dealt or the teams that will be involved. But let's start with probably one of our two big winners. And I said it last time. They're going to find a way to cap manipulate.
Vegas.
It's fair game, but
Vegas
the Las
has done it
Vegas
again.
Golden Knights.
What does that mean? They can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah.
And they got away with it once again. Obviously, the big one. Let's start off with the earlier one that didn't happen on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Anthony Manta from the Washington Capitals is headed to Vegas. And that's a stud goal scorer. Good ad. And
50% retained salary.
exactly. That's probably the big one. Salary retention is probably coming in clutch for Vegas.
Obviously, this is coming off the heels of Mark Stone being on LTIR, which opens up a bunch of cap space for them. Jack Eichel came back as well. They're struggling. They're currently in the wild card spot. I don't think they're not missing the playoffs, in my opinion. But
No way.
right now, they are in the wild card spot. So they're just on the edge. So, like, right now, the top of the Pacific is probably between Edmonton or the Canucks, the way it's going. But, again, we don't know how it's going to go. But the trade, Anthony Manta, 6'5" winger, he goes for the 2024 second-round pick and a 2026 fourth-rounder. Manta's an pending unrestricted free agent carrying a $5.7 million cap hit, but the Capitals are retaining 50% of that. He's 29 years old. He has been up and down. I think he was part of that trade from Detroit a couple of years ago. I forget which team was on.
Manta for Verana, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Manta for Verana. Yeah.
And he's recorded 20 goals and 14 assists this year in 56 games. A little bit of a resurgent year. You know, Washington Capitals at the beginning of the year started off pretty hot. That they were one of our surprises, especially with how bad Ovechkin was playing early on. But yeah, so it makes sense to trade him. Again, like you said to the meme, how can they get away with this? Because we're going to talk about the Hanifin trade later. But yeah, so they added a winger to replace Stone at the moment. Not saying he'll do what Stone does, because Stone brings a lot more than...
Stone's a complete game, man.
Yeah.
He does everything. He's obviously gonna point produce. He's gonna do his defensive work. But
Exactly.
yeah, you added a 20 goal scorer, right?
Yeah.
There's no way your team does not get better from this. Obviously, I'm not saying Manta's like this absolute god. He's not. But Manta is definitely an ad that, that a lot of teams would add. Like Oilers would love to have Manta right now. Canucks would love to have Manta with their goal scoring struggles.
They're saying he has the skill set to play up and down the lineup. He's a logical fit next to the original misfit, whatever the golden misfit, William Karlsson, on the second line. So yeah, like I said, it was reported. It was no secret they were looking for a winger, and they still could add more, which we'll get into later on. But yeah, so that's part one.
Part two. So you have a defensive corps of Zach Whitecloud, Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo, Braden McNabb, Alec Martinez, who's injured right now.
I don't know, had a pretty rough year this year.
And you chuck in the best available defenseman in the trade deadline market in Noah Hanifin, coming from Calgary. And the craziest part of this trade is 75% salary retention.
Yeah, but not one team though. So
yeah,
here's the thing, right? I was dead set. All the reports were Tampa. Maybe I think there was one more team maybe involved.
And he wanted Tampa too.
Yeah,
he
so
himself
right now
wanted
he hasn't
Tampa.
signed an extension or anything like that. There's still a possibility he can. We know that. And we know Vegas, they're ruthless, right? They have no loyalty to anyone. They don't care. They traded Riley Smith away right after winning a cup, right?
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
Right now, they send a 2025 conditional first round pick. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Vegas sends a 2025 conditional first round pick, a conditional 2024 third round pick, and defenseman Daniil Miromanov to the Flames in the trade. Calgary retains 50% of Hanifin's salary. The third team broker is the Philadelphia Flyers, who we'll get on to later as well, retain additional 25%, and they get, I forget which pick they get, but they get a pick as well, obviously, for doing this. Yeah, so
I think one of the conditions is like if Vegas wins a round, it turns to a second.
yeah,
Right,
so
as well.
there's that. The first round pick moves for 2026 if the Golden Knights trade their 2025 pick by the Friday deadline, though.
Okay, yeah.
So there's just stuff on there.
So like
Flyers receive a 2024 fifth round
they
pick from
they
the
have
Golden Knights.
they have 6 legit defensemen,
Yes.
right, when healthy, and all of them, a lot of it good experience for all of them. Probably Hannafin probably has the least amount of experience. Hannafin obviously up there in talent. Like Calgary wanted to keep him, they just couldn't get it done. There's no questioning. Like Calgary's defensive corps itself was incredible.
Yeah.
Right, when he had like the likes of Tanev, Anderson, Hannafin, right? Like that's pretty good. So are they taking the approach of like, okay, just defend all out in front of Aiden Hill or Logan Thompson, who's ever gonna take the reins?
I think Greg Wyshynski's like, you don't even need you just need put like a third stringer goalie in, and we'll be fine now.
Yeah, put up freaking cardboard cutout
Yeah.
at this rate. Like that's incredible defense, right? Just
However,
everyone there
the
is
notable
incredible.
injuries right now are Shea Theodore, Alec Martinez, and Zach Whitecloud, each missing more than 15 games right now.
Wait, what? They're both injured? Like Theodore and Whitecloud are injured?
Theodore, Whitecloud, and Martinez.
Wait, Theodore and Whitecloud are out right now?
Yeah.
Okay, it doesn't say on here.
On score?
Yeah.
No, it does. If you scroll down.
No, not for me.
Okay.
Well,
But yeah,
whatever.
Vegas had notable injury woes. That's what it says.
That's true, yeah.
Miramonov is a 26-year-old, is a right shot blue liner who was injured to start the season and returned to action in January. 0 points in 4 NHL games, 6 points in 5 AHL season. So Calgary, we'll talk about them actually in a second here, but Vegas, they're just
Dubbed
doing
out.
Vegas things once
They
again.
Dubbed out.
Not
It's like
surprised. I called it already before. I believe you agreed in general, so it's not like we're arguing
It's
about
like-
this. But
it's like when they traded for Stone
Stone and Pacioretty.
like
and
3
all
years
that.
ago, right? Yeah. They just came out of nowhere, right? They're always aggressive, right?
Yeah.
Like this team has never done a rebuild in their franchise history.
No, literally not.
They've never done a rebuild.
Yeah, so there's that's the Vegas side of things. They're still looking to add more pieces. Jake Gensel is still available. We'll talk about the availability in a second. They're also a player in Tyler Toffoli who is made available.
So I would say they would probably have around 6.
They could get Jake Gensel if they could get Pittsburgh to retain 50%. That's how much cap space they still have available. And who knows? They could
I
put
think they
one-
have around like
They
4
could put
mil.
one of these defensemen they have injured on LTIR and still play with it.
They probably
right?
have around like 3-4 million cap left. So
Yeah, so here's the thing. Okay, let me ask you about this. Obviously, we slightly talked about it last time, but when people say, oh, the cap manipulation, whatever, right? Canucks fans get hurt because of the whole cap recapture thing, which I agree with, which is bullshit, how we got screwed over on that end. But obviously, we agree that two things could be right? We agree on that. It needs to be fixed, clearly. They're not the only team that has done this. We've said that before. Tampa Bay and Chicago are two notable teams that have done it. You mentioned Kucherov last episode was the big factor in that.
that was a big one, yeah.
But here's the thing. Vegas, do they fake injuries? I wouldn't say they fake the injuries, but they might overstate the extent of the injury. Right?
Like I think the Stone one's legit
But they might
because-
overstate the extent.
because
of it.
Stone's always injured,
Yeah.
right? So I could see why. Like with Mark Stone, you're probably anticipating an injury at this
Yeah.
rate.
But the extent of the injuries get overstated, which they could just be like, you know what, we need you healthy for the playoffs anyways. We built a good enough cushion, right? People say, haven't you noticed how they kind of struggle near the end anyways? They start off hot usually, except for the 1 year they missed the playoffs. And then when the playoffs come, people get healthy. It's just, again, not faking injuries. Maybe they're just
But it happens every
managing
time.
the injuries properly.
Like yes, we've seen Chicago do it, we've seen Tampa Bay do it,
Yeah,
but Vegas has done it again and again,
exactly.
right? Like it's become a consistent basis. Whereas like Tampa Bay at the end of the day is a one-off, right? Like Kucherov's overall a healthy guy.
There's always conspiracies, right? Because like Vegas is Gary Bettman's beloved son type thing. So which is why they're saying like, why do they keep getting away with it? There's a conspiracy. He's involved directly. So there's that, right? But yeah.
and you can't really do anything about it. Is it bullshit? Completely, complete bullshit. Is it illegal? No.
They're directing their magic. Unfortunately, that's what they do. That's what it is. Unfortunately, until it gets fixed, we can't complain too much. You can complain to the league, sure, that's a different story, but you can't really blame Vegas for doing what they're able to do, right? But let's move on to a couple of other trades because we'll come back to Vegas when we talk about the targets that are going to be available. Let's Calgary. Let's just talk about Calgary. I think all of their UFAs are now traded, right? So
yeah, that's Lindholm, Zadorov, Tanev.
So here's the thing. Frank Seravalli tweeted. He says it's a monster job done by Calgary. by Craig Conroy in some difficult circumstances. He did say he does not want another Goudreau/Kachuk situation, mainly Goudreau because of the UFA status. He lived by his word. It might have been longer than expected. Could he have gotten better returns on considering you had okay, you got a decent return for Lindholm, right? That's obviously a little bit biased because we're Canucks fans.
Lindholm is the best return.
But you traded away your top two defensemen that were available from the beginning of the year, and you traded your best forward from last year, Tyler Toffoli. So out goes Tyler Toffoli, Nikita Zadorov, Elias Lindholm, Chris Tanev, Noah Hanifin. Incoming, Hunter Brustevich, Miramonov, Yermo, Grushnikov, Kuzmenko, Sharon Govich, 2 firsts, second, 4 thirds, a fourth, and a fifth. Obviously, you want to say their hands were tied, right?
You'll take that with what situation they were in.
Yeah.
I would take it. Obviously, you could have done better, yes.
1/3 could be a second and 1/4 could be a third.
They could have done better. They could have easily gone another. I think they could have. They
could have gone a first from
They should have gone
sure.
4 first in total.
I think they didn't want to retain on some people.
It's a conditional first.
That's
right?
so the thing that annoys me is out of you retained on your best player.
It's a conditional first for Hanifin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you retained on your best player, which sucks, 75%. And it's a division rival. That part annoys me as a Canucks fan. But that aside, yeah, better than getting 0 things like you did for Goudreau.
Like if Hunter
Brustevich
does what he does in the AHL, that's a dub right there.
Yeah.
Right? We don't know Yermo. Kuzmenko, you just got to hope that he figures out his shit because obviously second year, whatever sophomore slump was really hit him hard.
Flipped too still.
Yeah, he could get flipped still.
In the offseason probably.
And then other than that, yeah, first, now it just comes down to how you draft, how you manage some of these assets because it's clear that what direction you picked.
Yeah, so
it's clear.
Yeah, Calgary, I would say well done. You're still in that playoff hunt. I'm not saying you'll get in.
Their job might not be finished because
they have a certain goalie available.
A certain Markstrom could be gone.
Which we'll talk about later in the availabilities because none of the goalies got moved today.
But let's
at least a top tier goalies.
As our second winner.
The one that was supposed to be our original winner until the Hanifin news came out.
Colorado Avalanche. Let's just combine both packages. On Wednesday, Colorado Avalanche received Casey Middlestat, Sean Walker, a 5th-round pick, and they got rid of Bowen Byram, Ryan Johansson, and a 2025 first. So the Flyers received Johansson in the first, Sabres and Middlestat. The Middlestat deal was a 1-for-1 for Byram.
Okay, so we gotta split it a little bit here. Let's talk about Colorado as a whole first. First of all, their biggest dub is they upgraded their second line center. And I don't think they're retaining any salary because they gave away a first, right? Ryan Johansson, whatever, I think it was 50% retention or whatever the retention Nashville kept on him, has now been upgraded to Casey Middlestat, a guy who's 10 years younger than him.
Essentially, yeah.
Right? And that was their biggest question mark since Kadri left. Is Casey Middlestat going to be Nazem Kadri? Probably not. I'm not going to give him that high of expectations, especially with Gabe Landeskog still being out. However, you added a better second-line center when you had Evan Rodriguez the year before, and this year it was Ryan Johansson, who I was a huge fan of when with Columbus before he got his early Nashville days.
His prime is definitely beyond him.
Yeah.
So it didn't work out there. Middlestat essentially is your future for the second-line center, depending on what you do there. Obviously, it came at a price. Bowen Byram is gone. But does it really matter when you have Cale Makar and Devon Tays leading your line?
But you added Sean Walker.
And you added Sean Walker as well. So they didn't really lose anything. Essentially. Because at the end of the day, Bowen Byram is a stud. Yeah. Right? But how much is he going to get out of Colorado when he's behind clearly the third best defenseman? Not even barely the third best defenseman on that team.
Yeah, right. And obviously they would have looked like a Vegas defense if they kept Bowen Byram still. It was either him or Sam Girard. It makes sense that Bowen Byram's gone as well. Better opportunity. Maybe not. I mean, he might get moved because
the big thing there as well is out of all those guys on Colorado's defense, Bowen Byram gets injured the most.
Yeah, unfortunate concussion issues. He's a Vancouver kid, so that's why we're super interested in him. Vancouver Giant player as well.
Yeah.
But he was a big factor of them winning the cup as well. So when he was healthy, he was massive for them. Yeah, so Colorado, who I was very, very, very skeptical of of putting in my top 5 rankings. Very skeptical of putting him with Dallas, even at times, because I wasn't sure. I didn't like their goaltending. As good as
goaltending
Gorgiev is good.
is
Don't
still
get me wrong,
fine. Yeah.
But I was like, you know how you had those Darcy Kemper moments. The difference is you didn't have that elite team in front of you like you did like last year. You lost to Seattle in the first round, right? This year, same thing. Like, what were you? Was Ryan Johansson an upgrade over Evan Rodriguez? Many people thought no, but maybe they thought that he would have been better playing with Colorado with Bednar, McKinnon, right? All these guys, Bednar being the coach.
Yeah.
Basaka cooked. He flipped them. Yes, he gave a first away, but what's that first going to be between 25th and 32?
Yeah, nothing's okay. Like goaltending wise, it's always been the same level. It's just
Now
Darcy,
it's fine. Now you upgraded.
Darcy
with Sean
Kemper.
Walker.
Yeah, no, but Darcy Kemper just had the better team.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Darcy Kemper, Georgiev is the better goalie,
Yeah.
right? He's up there in the wins. He was up there in wins last year. He's up there in wins this year. There's a reason, right? He might have. At the end of the day,
Not a good save percentage, but yeah.
yeah, not a good save percentage, but all he needs to do is make one save,
Yeah.
and it's clearly shown that he's making that one save.
But yeah, so the point is now they're back officially on my cup contender guaranteed lock. Before I was iffy about it.
There's only one issue with Colorado. The Jets and Stars are gonna give you some tough competition in the playoffs, whereas before, especially on your cup run, there was no competition in the Central.
So here's the thing, right?
Like at the end of the day, you could still consider Stars
I still have the Stars coming out.
Competing
and
with
they
them.
added Chris Tanev, who they needed, right? You mentioned when we broke down that trade a couple of weeks ago. And they added a person that they did not need to give up anything for, who's emerged, and Logan Stankoven, right? So they already upgraded in that sense. They could still upgrade to get more forwards if they want, right? I think Matt Duchene's there. He's playing well for them.
Yeah, you got Wyatt Johnson, another young guy.
Yeah, so there's that.
Then you have your
If anything,
one of the best lines in hockey with Robertson, Pavelski, and Hintz.
I'm not saying Jets are a loser because they did add Sean Monahan, but Sean Monahan compared to Casey Middlestat, Sean Monahan compared to
Okay, I think
those guys, that's
when you look at year-wise, Sean Monahan and Casey Middlestat, like Casey Middlestat is a better future ad, right? But when you're looking at this year, Sean Monahan probably arguably has a better year.
Casey Middlestat's joining star power. Sean Monahan, as good as Kyle Connor has been this year, Mark Scheifele's been pretty good this year. You would take that core in Colorado better.
But is he going to play with them?
But they also upgraded on defense.
Like, is he going to play with them?
No, but he's a second line guy.
Yeah.
So he's still got players get motivated when they go on better teams.
Yeah,
Buffalo has
like,
been
at the end
terrible this year.
Yeah, that's
When
true.
we thought
They
they
have
were
been
supposed to be
terrible.
better.
But yeah, no. At the end of the day, I think Sean Monahan, Casey Middlestat, similar upgrades for them. Obviously, defensively, Colorado has a better
Colorado's,
upgrade.
in my opinion, is already the better team, and they just upgraded. The thing that has the major advantage is Connor Hellebuck. That's the major advantage.
Yeah.
Right? So we'll see how that plays out. But you're right, the division is way tough. Like, I will...
It's tougher than last year.
But-
It's tougher than the year before.
Yeah.
Especially when you can't even win the division. And you might have to go through both Stars and the Jets.
Yeah.
Just to get to the conference finals.
So that's that side. Let's break it down. Let's go to Buffalo, like we mentioned. They needed to... he was a pending RFA, if I believe, or a RFA soon, Casey Middlestat. So they probably didn't want to pay him right now. They added... Their defense looks insane, right? But the problem is, I think they're all left shot.
Yeah, that's an issue.
So that's the issue there. But they still have 3 studs in Bowen Byram, Owen Power, and Rasmus Dahlin. Rasmus Dahlin, you're paying a lot of money to now because he did sign a contract extension, if I'm not mistaken, in the offseason, right? And yeah, so there's nothing much to say. They just had a bad year. We thought they were gonna be like the OKC Thunder / Indiana Pacers of the NHL. They happened to, and then in the NHL, them and the Senators, we thought they were 1 and 2, and then it was Detroit. It literally flipped, and Detroit's the team that's looking like they're gonna make the playoffs. The way their season's going, but yeah, I mean they added more young guys. They flipped Byram. For now, the plan is they said they're gonna keep him, and we'll see how that goes. Right? Nothing much else to say there.
Yeah, no, they still have their young pieces, right? Obviously,
Alex Tuck, Tage Thompson, Clayton Krebs.
The main thing is this: like Tage Thompson has been healthy this year as he was last year. Obviously, like we saw Tage Thompson just took over.
Yeah.
Right. He wasn't able to do that this year, and that's one of the main reasons why you're not as good as last year.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and obviously Dahlin's doing Dahlin's thing still. Let's see how this defense is like. Do they pair one up and put one on the right side? We don't know. Let's see if they're capable of playing. If any of them are capable of playing on the right side. But yeah, that defensive three is incredible. It should be, if they do manage to keep all three, it will be a great future defensive core there.
So Philly, the team that's currently in a playoff spot that looks like they're gonna get in, with a Coach of the Year candidate and John Tortorella, with some drama where they don't have their goalie anymore because of the whole Canada World Junior team scandal as well, and so there could have been ups and downs for this team. This team was genuinely our worst team in the East going into this season.
They were
Like maybe the worst team in hockey, arguably, next to the San Jose Sharks. But they end up trading Sean Walker, who was heavily linked. People thought maybe they might stay put. Daniel Breer's like, nah, F that. I know we're not going to be good enough. Listen,
makes no sense.
We'll trade the pending UFA. Clearly, this had value to them. They got a first out of it as well.
You got a first.
But not only just that, not only just that, they're still in the playoff spot. So for me, if you're not going to be able to pay this guy, you trade him. Let your young guys, who they get for Karagochi again? The guy Drysdale. He might let him emerge. Whoever else is, Owen Tippett and all these guys emerge, right? Obviously, they don't have Matvey Michkov right now. Eventually, he'll come in. Let them get some playoff experience early and see how it goes. You add Ryan Johansson. He's going to be on waivers, so he's no longer going to be playing there. He might join Kuznetsov and being the most expensive AHL player of all time, which is what Evgeny Kuznetsov is right now, where I think Hershey or wherever he's at. But yeah, so that's fine. Do what Nashville did last year, but instead of Nashville missing the playoffs, you guys are in a playoff spot and just
it's as simple as this.
Do what you got to do.
It's as simple as this, right? Your squad is young, right? The only reason you're here is not because Sean Walker is playing incredible. And don't get me wrong, he's one of the reasons. It's because Tortorella got these young guys cooking.
Yeah.
Right? So why the hell would you pay a 29-year-old guy, a 4, 5 million, whatever he was going to get, maybe 3, just to, make the playoffs once and probably miss again next year? Who knows?
He already has a career high in 6 goals. It's on pace.
It's a win-win situation for if you trade him, right? It would have been I would have considered Philadelphia Flyers as my loser if they didn't trade Sean Walker.
Yeah.
Right.
But I consider them a winner.
But now they're still
in a playoff
now they're a winner.
Right?
The playoffs are a bonus for this team.
Yeah.
Right? Like if they get these young guys playoff experience, like that's the biggest dub you could possibly get as a Flyers fan.
Yeah. So that's
and plus you get a first round pick.
Yeah.
For making the playoffs.
Exactly.
Potentially.
Yeah. Will it be a late pick for sure?
First
or
first.
Whatever pick it is, but whatever year pick it is, I forget. But yeah, so there's the news, that trade. Let's talk about the trade that started off the day though. Let's go with Vladimir Tarasenko. If he's out of Ottawa, many Ottawa fans hated this trade because the package wasn't the greatest when you look at the other people. Now they had limited options with the no movement clause or no trade clause.
The package,
he only wanted Florida.
The package was pretty shit. It was pretty shit. It wasn't Steos, right? Their GM.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good first move for Steos. I'll say that much.
The thing is,
but
hands were tied.
Hands were tied. But would Calgary hands were tied and what you guys hands were tied? I would say
his hands were tied a little bit more.
I would say Calgary did a better job still.
Well, yeah, but the difference was I don't think those guys had trade clauses. That's the thing, right?
That's still
we saw what happened to Patrick Kane last year. So
yeah, but yeah, I agree with the fans. Yeah, I agree with the fans.
Out of Vladimir Tarasenko to the Florida Panthers, who are my favorite coming out of the East, maybe my cup favorite as well, for a conditional 4th round pick in this year's draft and a 3rd round pick in next year's draft. Listen, it's Vladimir Tarasenko. I get it. He's not the same Vladimir Tarasenko you guys roasted me about in the short that we dropped about drafting him.
A lot of pressure, by the way. Like we had to get it done within. We have a time limit.
Yeah,
we give ourselves a time limit.
But yeah, no, Ottawa's also.
But we did do bad. You guys are right. We did do bad on those shorts.
But Ottawa is retaining 50%. That makes it even worse in this, right?
Bro, I'm telling you, it's a F for Steos on his first trade. Senators fans have every right to be pissed off. It's just not a good enough package. All right, so another I guess L for Senators in general this year. Florida wise, you already have a stud goal scorer in Reinhardt this year. Kachuk is still Kachuk. Barkov is doing flying assists, diving assists off midair. I don't know what the hell. Juggling pucks. And then now you just add in a Tarasenko who has won a cup, who is obviously experienced, and if he finds 50% of his game that he did in
Listen.
2019, that's the biggest dub you could
There's a
get.
player in Florida right now who's found his game a little bit by the name of Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Hey,
Vladimir Tarasenko was not as bad as Oliver Ekman-Larsson was last year with the Canucks,
that's true.
and injury-wise.
Like if Tarasenko's half the man he was in 2019 on the cup run,
Yeah.
Florida's dubbed.
Listen, this gives me Claude Giroux vibes because of the trade they did. No,
I know, but
unfortunately they choked that year.
But the Drew trade was definitely a lot more expensive.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, the player-wise, it's just like that type of vibe. I'm not saying they're the same player or anything like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
Drew,
going out
the
there.
thing was this: Drew was still like playing good.
Yeah. So, yeah, Tarasenko, he was obviously one of the top players available. He's off the market now. That trade is done. Let's talk about...
Oh, one last deal to talk about, right?
let me double check
Oilers
here.
and Ducks. Henrique.
Yeah, that's the last one of the day. Yeah, so Adam Henrique, who was the next available center after Lindholm getting traded and after Monahan got traded, that a lot of teams are looking at. The Oilers ended up acquiring him and Sam Carrick, along with the 7th round pick from Anaheim. Anaheim is receiving a 2024 first round pick, which is a little surprising to me, and a conditional 5th rounder in 2025 that upgrades to a 4th if Edmonton wins the Stanley Cup. The Ducks are also retaining 50% of Henrique and Carrick's salaries. I'm not familiar with Carrick, are you?
No, not really.
Okay, and then the Tampa Bay Lightning are retaining an additional 25% of Henrique's salary and received a 2025 4th round pick from the Oilers for brokering the deal. The Bolts also shipped Edmonton the rights to goaltender Ty Taylor. Henrique and Carrick are both pending UFAs. After retention, Henrique will count roughly for $1.45 million on the cap, and Carrick for $25,000. And the Oilers had approximately $2.37 million in deadline cap space before the trade, so now they're about half, just under $1 million there.
So in order to get someone big, they're gonna have to get rid of someone.
Henrique also has 42 points in 60 games, so pretty good year for a bad Ducks team, who's again a team that started off hot like they always usually do.
Like
averaging 17 minutes on a +3 and winning 52.9% of
you
his
got your
faceoffs.
third line center,
Yeah.
right? And he will be your second line center if want to chuck McDavid and Draisaitl on the same line because
No, not even just... he's still your third line center, maybe because you have Nuge. Nuge could play your second
Oh yeah,
line center.
Nuge could, yeah.
Right? So they have options, kind of like how the Canucks do when they added Lindholm, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, so like if they still want to split them up, you might go 4 center deep if you want. But I think Nuge plays with Draisaitl.
Nuge plays with Draisaitl already.
Or
one of them. He already plays.
He plays with one of them. But yeah, if it is a team when they're struggling, all you got to do is put, the best player by far in hockey and the top 5 player in hockey, top 3 in some people's eyes in hockey, and you pair him with Zach Hyman, then you could just put Adam Henrique on his own line. I don't know who's on that squad right now. Can they still have more depth? For sure. Right, Connor Brown hasn't done what people thought. He played with McDavid in juniors.
He's gonna turn to God.
I don't even think he scored yet, or he barely scored this year.
He only has like 1 or 2.
Yeah, so a lot of depth, a lot of options. When you play with the best guy in hockey, you could you're bound to have like the easier matchup usually, anyways. And you're having a good year. Henrique is an underrated player in my opinion in general with Jersey, as well before he went to Anaheim as well. And like I said, he's a good defensive forward that could win faceoffs. There's your answer right there. Oilers need some defensive help. Yes, do they need help on the back end? For sure. Are they done looking? We don't know. I'll pull up the 4th period's trade target list in a second here. But yeah, overall, again, they were already cup contenders. They're on a 5-game win streak once again. They're a streaky team. I get that.
Yeah.
But they're still on the same tier as now. Colorado jumped back in. Vegas whenever they get healthy, and Dallas.
All right. As simple as this. Everyone who traded today, who were the contenders, all got an upgrade. They all got better on paper, especially. Obviously, we'll see their all-nice performance, once they start playing. But on paper, Vegas, Colorado, Edmonton, Florida, all these teams got better.
Yeah.
And they all dubbed out. They're all the winners of the trade. And it's as simple as that. It's going to just come down who just shows up at this rate, because so far it's been so good for all these teams that are looking to, looking to upgrade their team into making a potential playoff run. And all 4 teams today on Wednesday have done a great job.
And then specifically, you could throw in Vancouver and Winnipeg as well. Winnipeg obviously upgraded slightly with Monahan. Can they still do a little bit more to put themselves in that same tier? For sure. Vancouver, obviously, yes, in hindsight, the Lindholm trade does not look like it's working out, and there's information we got to get to in a second about Elias Lindholm. But if that trade were to happen today, we would be celebrating, right? I'm still giving it time. I think Elias Lindholm is still a good player out there. We just got to figure out where the best fit is. He obviously came in because we thought Pedersen might not have gotten traded. But apparently there were reports that it was serious enough it could have gotten traded.
Yeah.
So yes, that could have been all BS. It could have been just a bluff situation. But based on reports, it was very serious according to Elliot Friedman and Rick Dhaliwal. But so now they're like, okay, well, PD signed. Where can you fit him? I still think you run the 4-line center thing if you need to. Yes, is it an overpay for a quote-unquote fourth or third line center? Sure. But you need to go find a winger for PD. I'm fine with that because... so the Canucks in that sense, we'll stop there. They added Zadorov, physicality. What does Vegas have in the playoffs? Physicality on the back end. What does Florida have this year? Similar vibe, physicality. That's Zadorov. Yes, and then Myers, whenever he comes back healthy, same thing. So you added physical guys there. You added a 200-foot player in Elias Lindholm. That's a win for the Canucks. They just need to figure it out. That's it. There's not such a thing as that's a bad trade for the Canucks. It just
you know what the issue is, right? Like they're not scoring at the same rate they were at the beginning. That's what the issue is, and the good in that is that
that's playoff hockey.
That's playoff hockey. The way you won against LA is how you're supposed to win in the playoffs, and how you're gonna win, right? There's gonna have those maybe 1 or 2 games in a series, barely one, where you just dominate and score. Those 4 or 5 goals a game that you were getting at the beginning of the year. They're not getting that right now.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to dig deep because obviously they have a tough stretch, right? Like
this is a test.
It's a test. And you're going to have to win games dirty. You're going to have to win games gritty. You're going to have to win games
with Demko carrying you.
with good solid defense and a big save from Demko, which is probably one of the Demko's most amazing save I've seen, I would say.
Yeah. So speaking of Elias Lindholm, this is what happened. He during that LA game, near the end of the first period to the beginning or middle of the second period, he was out of the game. I didn't realize that when the group chat was talking. I thought they were asking about Elias Lindholm.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he actually went out of the game because I was doing other things at the same time. Obviously, everybody speculated trade reasons because earlier in the day, Chris Johnston from The Athletic and TSN reported that the Canucks, and who Rick Dhaliwal confirmed, the Canucks called, because I would have been sitting here saying, oh, maybe Boston called, but the Canucks called Boston to send them Lindholm, who were interested in Lindholm in the first place, where I genuinely thought he was going to be
traded
via trade, whether off-season or during the season, but I feel like he'll end up there in the off-season anyways. And then, in order for the Canucks to get Gensel. We'll talk about Gensel in a second, but it could have been an injury. Maybe he had to go take a shit like any other hockey player had to
Luongo.
do. Yeah, that. Or he was generally on trade things, so there was talks about it that broke down. So he came back out. I thought he played pretty well later on, like he was physical. I hope he gets his offensive game going. I'm not a guy who wants to sell Lindholm on a 13-game regular season game.
That's true. Like it's a short sample size.
Yeah.
But we can't say Lindholm at the end of the day. If the Canucks have a lead, Lindholm's on the ice.
Yeah.
Canucks run a PK, Lindholm's on the ice.
Yeah.
Right? Talk said himself that Lindholm is on the right spots at the right times. Especially defensively.
He's a centerman, so he can't play wing though.
Especially defensively.
So
right?
here's the thing.
So there's no issues with Lindholm's defensive part of the game and all that stuff. The issue is that people expected him to be Pedersen's partner. He's not living up to that.
So with Lindholm, the thing is that it is Rutherford, Trader Jim, as his nickname is. So I won't be upset if we trade him and we get a guy like Toffoli or Gensel or in return. So I don't mind that. Like I want to give him an opportunity. I'm not saying I feel bad for the guy. It's the NHL. It's part of the trade. Jim literally did that with Tanner Pearson a couple of years ago when he was in Pittsburgh.
And also you'll be going to another contender.
Yeah, not even just that, but yeah, I hope they could figure it out. I still think we need that type of player in the playoffs. Yeah, was he the greatest playoff performer ever? Probably not, because Calgary always bounced out early or they never made the playoffs, right? But outside of that, that's the Elias Lindholm side of things. If he's going to get traded, it's probably Boston. And the only reason why he'll get traded is because the Canucks, let's talk about him right now, or one of the teams in on Jake Gensel.
And that'll be the only reason why Lindholm gets traded.
Yes. And right now there's reports that Carolina is leading the race. The price is way too high for him. And I agree. I'm like, if he's going to be a rental and he's not willing to sign no extension, for me, no matter what, if it's definitely a rental, Willander, Lekkerimäki, untouchable. Höglander, it depends on the situation. But the way he's performing and he's linked up with PD, it's tough to trade him now. I'm fine with Podkolzin.
The only person,
as much as I love Arshdeep Bains and I know I'm Punjabi, he will have to be in play. I don't want to trade him because I want him to be on their team. But bias aside, like all those guys in the AHL, minus eventually Lekkerimäki and Willander, are the guys who I know are not at the AHL right now. But like those prospects, I'm fine with in play. But you got to also remember, because we don't want no Benning situation, and he ain't no Benning, that's for sure. When you traded Tyler Madden, who I guess I know in hindsight did not work out, but you also traded a second on top of that with Toffoli for a complete rental. And we'll talk about Toffoli in a second. So with Jay Gensel, if the price is too high and you're not going to be able to sign him, and if it's a cost is another first round pick in 2025 plus a prospect, throw in an Ilya Mikheyev to make salary match, I would be against it.
Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, like, dumb being boys, I don't think we trade for Gensel if we know we can't re-sign him. I firmly believe if the Canucks pull off Gensel there will be like hard, I'm not saying they're going to get it done, but there will be like, hard talks that like, they will get Gensel signed. Obviously, reason being Rick Tocchet, Patrick Elvine, and Jim Rutherford.
Yeah, no, and I get that because maybe that's his preferred spot anyways. But here's the thing. I'm not risking it. I'm not risking our prospect pool for that.
But like, what is our prospect pool? Other than DPD, other than Willander and Lekkerimäki.
We finally added guys, though, is my point.
We have no prospect pool.
But that's my point. We finally have building blocks. And those three guys are playing amazing wherever they're
and they're not getting touched, right? At the end of the day, like, no matter what the deal is, there have been many reports.
Yeah.
Lekkerimäki and Willander are not going to get traded, no matter who the player is.
Well, it depends if it's what's the word?
If it's McDavid.
If it's a guy with term in general. No. If it's a guy with term, to your point, yeah, he has a guy with term. Like Crosby, but Crosby looks like he's signing an extension come off season. But
yeah, if you're looking at someone cheaper, Tyler Toffoli is one of the options.
No Vasily Podkolzin or Artur Silov's dressed for Abbotsford tonight as well. But Podkolzin was also sent down.
Artur Silov's.
He let a shitty goal in, bro. From half. One of those.
Actually?
Yeah.
Well, has he fell out?
And that was like the game winning.
Artur Silov's was a god last year. Right? Like, to the fact that Kuzmenko was really impressed by Artur Silov's. But, at the end of the day, like, Silov's, Podkolzin are probably the only players that are looking like they're going to headline the package.
People think Podkolzin went up because just to gave a tryout for the other teams, right? But putting the Canucks to the side, like I said, Jake Gensel at the moment, not his favorite, but the favorite landing spot right now looks like it's Carolina, who I think need to make moves. Obviously, they were in on Elias Pettersson. We don't know how serious the talks were. Only Rutherford would know that, but based on reports, they were to a extent that it was getting serious. But yeah, right. So there's a guy right there. I mentioned Vegas once again. They could manipulate their way in getting him.
Like, or obviously, like, Gensel is the number one option. You go for Gensel, right? Like, Edmonton, at the end of the day, you still try. Vegas, you still obviously going to try. Canucks, you try. Carolina's obviously one of the leaders. I think those are like
Edmonton is up there, but I don't know how they're going to.
I think those are the four. I don't think really anyone else could pull it off.
Yeah, so it's Edmonton, Vancouver, Carolina. Yeah, I think those are and Vegas 4.
Those are 4, yeah.
So
and right now, it looks like it's gonna be heavy Carolina. But but if you want someone cheaper, Tyler Toffoli is gonna be that guy.
Good transition, yeah.
Right.
I'm looking at the camera for this one. I know you're not watching this. Canucks front office, whoever is there, go get Tyler Toffoli.
They're like, why am I listening to this dumbass sitting on the couch who just started a podcast 1 year ago?
Not even. But no, like genuinely, go get Tyler Toffoli. He is now made available. Before Fitzgerald said he was not going to be available, he is made available. Again, Vegas is the one that's heavily linked. LA want to have a reunion with him as well. But man, if the Canucks could bring him back, he wanted to stay a Canuck. Stupid Benning wanted to pay Virtanen more and extend Tanner Pearson, but like I didn't mind the Tanner Pearson one as much as I hated the fact that he brought back Virtanen instead of paying the extra million.
Well, the Tanner Pearson one happened after.
No, I'm talking about Virtanen. Yeah, it happened after, but still was part of it. But what I'm saying is, instead of paying a guy who kills you, and then he proved it by when he went to Montreal and scored a hat trick,
just instantly.
the guy could score goals. Guess what Elias Pettersson needs? Goal scoring with him. Tyler Toffoli's there. He was the best forward in Calgary last year. And that says a lot with that team in general. Like how good he has been. Even with the Canucks, the short stint he had injuries. I get it. But even including the bubble, I think he had 10 goals. How many games did he realistically play with us?
Barely any.
Exactly,
Barely
right?
any.
Yeah, is he going to be a rental? Sure. I get it. But if I'm New Jersey, you guys are looking like you guys are shitting the bed. You guys just fired Lindy Ruff. More on that on part 2 of the podcast. And you brought back former Canuck Travis Green. But, dude, if they can't get Genso, and I'm not overpaying for that, go try to get Tyler Toffoli. Clearly, the extension talks are not working. I don't know. He's a free agent. New Jersey's going to be better next year if they're healthy. That's my opinion. I believe you agree with that as well. You could go get some assets. Go get another second or Tyler Madden version of the Canucks this year if you need to, and sign him back if you have to. Obviously, if I'm the Canucks, I'm going to try to bring him back. He's only 31 years old. I know he probably wants longer term now. This isn't bending that shit up. It's pissing me off.
Bro.
I'm going to rant.
All right.
But Tyler Toffoli
to
the Canucks, Tyler Toffoli to Vegas is an option. Tyler Toffoli to Toronto should be an option.
Wherever Gensel is, those 4 teams are going to be on top of the list. You chuck in LA Kings, you chuck in the Maple Leafs, you chuck in the Stars. Why not?
Yeah.
Like, why not? Like,
Gensel, here's the thing. Pittsburgh wanted to get a deal done today, which is Wednesday for us right now. Obviously, it did not happen unless something breaks soon. But, yeah, so like I said, Tyler Toffoli is the next best option, if not Gensel. And as a Canucks fan, please go get him.
and honestly, like, I think if we do get Tyler Toffoli, you should be able to keep Lindholm as well.
Yes.
And then, so those are probably the 2 best forwards. Another sneaky guy I think will be good was Frank Vetrano from Anaheim.
The thing with that is like it was the same similar thing with Adam Henrique last year, where he had some terms so they didn't want to trade him.
Yeah.
So it's a similar vibe with them. They're looking for ransom. Jason Zucker is heavily linked. Canucks have reportedly made an offer. They're looking for a second rounder minimum.
There's no
and
way.
a top prospect. I don't know why.
Bro, man has only 9 goals.
Yeah, but a name I threw out before, and I'm still throwing it out there. I don't know why he might get an extension. Is Anthony Duclair.
Yeah.
It was a rumor that he
one.
would get a reunion with Florida once again, and where he performed well.
He did
Obviously,
perform
they
well,
went the Tarasenko route, so I doubt they will get him back. But like I said, right now teams reportedly linked based on the 4th period, which is David Pagnotta. I don't know how you say it though. Edmonton, Colorado, Vegas, Rangers, Toronto, Florida, Winnipeg. This is obviously a couple of days old.
Also, a quick one. Rangers did add Alex Wenberg from Seattle.
Yeah.
As well. Another just a middle 6 guy for the Rangers, which will be good for them.
Matt Dumbaugh's on this list, but I don't want as well. Makes sense. But the name I want to talk about, who we said Tyler Toffoli is the consolation prize for Jake Ensel. Since Noah Hanifin got traded, we got to mention Jacob Chychrun. And the team that lost out on Noah Hanifin, the Tampa Bay Lightning, might be heavily linked to Jacob Chychrun, who was on a very, very great contract. Ottawa won the sweepstakes. Don't know what's happening in Ottawa. And now he's looking for a new home probably. And Tampa Bay is a team that they're looking at.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is going to be looking at, obviously, when you're looking at our losers at the moment, the Toronto Maple Leafs, who need a defenseman badly.
I doubt they're trading in that.
They
Those
can.
2, I don't see trade happening.
That's true. But yeah,
They're Toronto Maple Leafs, let's finish the Chychrun talk.
Yeah, Chychrun to Tampa Bay makes sense. Obviously, that is their consolation prize.
Yeah.
There's no simple, Chychrun is going to make them better. And, that's it. There's nothing much to talk about that. Chychrun is going to be an upgrade for the Lightning.
Toronto is linked with the guys from St. Louis. Parayko and Pavel Buchnevich. Yeah. Not just him. Buchnevich was... Pavel Buchnevich was linked with the Canucks as well.
He's linked with everyone. He's
up there too, right?
Bro, he's like a Toffoli in the sense of he will be a consolation prize for the Gensel.
Yeah.
Right? So if you miss out on Gensel and you get Buchnevich, you should be happy. Same thing if you get Toffoli, you should be happy. Zucker, in my opinion, is on the lower end as well. But yeah, but then in Toronto's case, you got to prioritize Parayko over Buchnevich at any cost, right? Because you missed out on Hanifin, because you missed out on Tanev. Pareko at the end of the day is 30 years old, and I think he'll do a decent enough job to help your defense. That's honestly, after Morgan Riley, I don't
Yeah.
know anyone.
But yeah, Toronto obviously like in our eyes biggest loser at the moment because the only guy they added was Ilya Lubushkin. Yes, they're on a heater right now. Matthews scored once again. I'm not saying that, but come playoff time, we know their story.
Yeah, but they're always on heaters, right?
Yeah.
We know their story,
It's
like
the
you just said.
playoffs, yeah, and then they need to upgrade their defense. It's worse than last year. Guys, like I said, they were linked to a bunch of the guys that already got traded. A guy they also I think contacted was Joel Edmondson
Yeah,
as well. But goaltending, let's talk about that because they need it. I think Edmonton is kind of doing fine with Skinner at the moment. We saw New Jersey's struggles. We seeing LA how they're gonna do because LA plays the most boring hockey. If that gets broken down, they might not have the goaltending to sustain
and honestly,
it.
like to be fair to Talbot, he's found his form from the beginning
But
of the
again,
year. But
how
at the end of the day, like you don't trust Talbot in the
Because
playoffs.
you don't know the 1-3-1 was eventually broken down by the Canucks.
But here's the thing, right? What if LA is just trying to replicate what Vegas did, right? What if LA just like, okay, let's just add that one more defenseman, right? Let's just add another stud and do what Vegas did. Because at the end of the day, LA can do that. I do believe LA can do that, and I do believe LA can survive with Talbot, how Vegas survived
Yeah.
with Aiden Hill.
Yeah, no, they have the team for it, but the problem is they don't have the offensive firepower like Vegas.
That's
Right.
probably true.
Because the reason why
Yeah.
they started losing was a couple of their guys got injured
Yeah.
in Vegas.
Yeah.
Sorry, in LA, right? And even
And
like
Talbot being
even
one of
with
them
the
as well.
Canucks, the way they scored wasn't because of their structure. It was because the Canucks gave the puck away to them while they forechecked. Their structure is when for example, again we're gonna reference the Canucks because that's the most that's games we watch the most.
It's a recent game as well.
Is a recent game as well. Is when Quinn Hughes was getting booed, but then like Dave Tomlinson said perfectly, they're not forechecking you. Why would he try to go into a 1-3-1 trap, right? So that's how their structure is, and unfortunately, as good as Anze Kopitar is, as good as Philip Deneau and all these guys are, but they're not like pure
Like
outside of
Kemp,
Kopitar.
was Kempe injured?
Kempe's injured now,
So like
that's
Kempe, you got Fiala.
yeah. So
Right.
you have some guys. Unfortunately, who I call the overrated player in the league, PLD, Pierre-Luc Dubois, isn't doing what he's supposed to be doing. You guys don't have the fire. If you're gonna play that style, you're right, 100%. They might win. They might squeak out, but they're gonna lose games like 2-1. And if a team like Vegas matches up with them, or a guy like McDavid speed is on them, he'll break them down. A Canucks Kings series will
So,
be very entertaining.
The thing is
first-round
this, right? You know
matchup
what the
for
funny
sure.
part is, right? Like they actually addressed this issue, right?
Last year.
I've adding the offensive firepower, who's making $8 million
Oh, yeah.
playing on their fourth line.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, no.
It was just, I guess, at the end of the day, it just turned out to be, like, honestly, is it like $8 million move was the bad move? They're wrong at that.
that was wrong.
But I don't think the trade was, I don't think they're in wrong for making that trade. At the end of the day,
Yeah, but not, like I said, sometimes you gotta look in hindsight. Those
in
guys-
hindsight, yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah,
Jets won,
but yeah, I agree with you there.
but they tried doing it. They just failed with that trade
The thing with a team like that is you need to find someone that could fit that structure.
as well.
So PLD ain't that guy if he's not gonna put the effort in, right? Yes, they don't have Todd McClellan anymore, but that was the system. I was listening to Luke Gazdick talking about it because he had Todd McClellan in Edmonton, and he's like, yeah, unfortunately that's the way it is. It's boring hockey for the players and to watch. But yeah, it is what it is. That's how you want to play because of your goaltending, fair game. But you got to bring the offensive firepower to do it because with the Canucks, it worked the first time because they couldn't figure you out. The first period, the Canucks couldn't figure you out recently, but this last the second period, the Canucks dogged them. And then the two times you did break it down, we were fortunate to have Thatcher Demko in net.
Yeah.
But outside of that, there were opportunities there. But goalies, let's switch back to the goalies for a second here.
So you got.
How confident are you in the goalies to get traded?
I don't think UC Soros is getting traded. I'm fully confident that
How much has the other goalie played? Do you know?
I don't know how much he's played, but I'm telling you right now, I know UC Soros has been playing.
Yeah.
Right? And the fact that they've legit separated the gap, they went on an 8-game win streak.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's snapped or
It's
not
snapped,
right
it's
now.
snapped.
But like at the beginning of the month, we're like, okay, there's Nashville, there's St. Louis, there's Seattle, there's Calgary,
He's still 15 on this list, but
right? Like it's Nashville, right? Like Nashville has a clear hold on that second wildcard spot. And yes, it might be like, 4 or 6 points. I consider that a clear hold just because it was legit 1 point, 2 point between 4 different teams.
Yeah. Because like the goalies that are available, like you said, UC Soros, Jacob Markstrom, which I think will be a more of an off-season thing in my opinion, especially if the Devils are
Like the
way they
only
are.
one that probably will get moved.
It's guys like Jake Allen.
No, Elvis Merzlikins.
Well, yeah, but like guys like that on that type of tier too.
Yeah, no, like Merzlikins better than Jake Allen.
Yeah,
I would say so.
he's been up and down, but yeah.
Merzlikins like another Korpisalo basically, like a baby Korpisalo.
But yeah, like guys like Jake Allen, I could see getting moved. Right, Merzlikins is 28 on this list, like you mentioned. Yeah, there's a lot of guys on this list.
Yeah, but I don't think a stud goalie is gonna get moved. I just don't think that. Like, and
Fleury already was announced he's getting traded.
Yeah, as well. And like I don't think it makes sense for Nashville to move Soros in the deadline. It's an off-season move if you're gonna do it.
Yeah, and the only Jake Allen, Markstrom, and those are
is Soros is under contract, right?
I think so.
Like I'm assuming he is under contract. I feel like it would have been talked about if he wasn't.
They're actively listening, not actively shopping. David Pagnotta reported Soros wants Ilya Sorokin money on his next deal, and that isn't happening in Nashville. The Predators don't have to move him by the deadline, but if they don't, expect the talks to heat up in the summer. So he might have another year.
So he has one more year, essentially.
Yeah, so he's looking for Sorokin money, which is
honestly,
fair.
He deserves it. He deserves
but
it.
if they have a goalie in the background that's doing well, then yeah, it's right to move on from him. But that's more of an off-season thing. I don't see a goalie getting moved, at least of significance, in my opinion. Like, is Merzlikins a big upgrade over Talbot?
Not really. I would
is Jake Allen a big upgrade over Talbot?
Oh, no, that's probably a downgrade in my opinion.
Okay, so then there's
Talbot's been Talbot's been the better goalie than those two this year.
Yeah.
Like Talbot has been good.
Yeah,
this year he has generally been good.
Sure, it could be an upgrade, but like I don't think Jersey needs to go out and get a goalie.
There's no point. Like at the end of the day, like Jersey might like
miss completely.
Yeah.
So like Jersey just needs to stick with their eyes on Markstrom, and if that's what they're having.
Like the only person is Soros or Markstrom.
Yeah. Other names that are on this list, but let's close it out soon here, because again we don't. Just a reminder, we will drop a trade deadline follow up post trade deadline thing on Saturday. Assuming there's some trades to be done, but the way today went, I am assuming
might just be done on Thursday.
I'm assuming Gensel and Toffoli will get traded, so we will probably talk about that on Saturday after Friday's deadline. But a couple other names on this list are, you already said Frank Vatrano, right?
Yeah.
Jordan Eberle, Scott Lawton, Colton Parayko we mentioned as well. Kapokako. That's a guy that might could see going to Anaheim for like a Frank Vatrano type trade.
Kapokako, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, now you're seeing that fall off realistically. Like now, if you're trading for these players, it's just like okay,
depth pieces.
Third line at best.
Yeah, Riley Smith is back on this list.
And Riley Smith honestly couldn't be second line at best.
Alexander Barbanov.
But yeah, there's no one else. There's no point in really listing much other than the big
Victor
guys.
Olofsson.
Other than the big guys. All right. So, yeah, I think that will wrap up today, right? Do we have anything else to talk about, really? Like, we covered the teams, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's no point really. What are you making that stupid
Adam
face
Boquist
for?
is on this?
Huh?
Why is Adam Boquist on this?
I think it's been injury. It's been injury issues with him. He hasn't been living up to it because of injuries.
John Gibson's on this.
Well, obviously.
Oh. I forgot to mention that going back, I just saw Jake DeBrusk's name. That's why. So the potential 3-team trade that could happen is Elias Lindholm goes to Boston, Jake DeBrusk goes to Pittsburgh, and Canucks get Jake Gensel.
Yeah.
So that's if you want to see creative trade, that's probably the most creative trade you'll see. We don't often see 3-team trades like that in hockey, especially when you trade for a guy already in Elias Lindholm.
Well, so that wraps up our pre-deadline, pre-post deadline.
Check out the YouTube short.
Pre-post deadline.
Check out our YouTube short that we dropped. Mainly Jobin. I'll give him the credit on that. It's, comment on I'm going to drop a poll as well. What's the best deadline day move? Jobin ranked 3 of his best.
In the last 10 years.
On the last 10 years to be
exact. So don't comment Ray Bork.
Yeah.
because we all know that's one of the best ones.
But yeah, maybe drop your all-time one.
Yeah, drop your all-time one, yeah.
I'm gonna put like a community poll out once again. Thank you guys showed love on the last NBA one we put as well with the Boston Celtics. But yeah, so that wraps it up for us. Make sure you watch part 2, which it comes out tomorrow, where we'll be talking about the NFL tag deadline, the
And
cuts,
kind of a free agency preview,
we have
low
free
key as
agency
well.
preview there, along with the UFC preview with a big card. We got Nagano versus Joshua, and some soccer news with the CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup, the Champions League, so on and so forth, and any other news.
Just basically
that
our
comes in.
normal pod. It's our
Yeah.
normal pod.
But the next hockey talk outside of the Lindy Ruff firing will be the trade deadline on Saturday. So make sure you guys check that out. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Once again, make sure you guys like the video, comment, subscribe. We're 60 subscribers away as of now from 500. So help us get there. Thank you for the support on the TikToks. We've seen an increase in followers there as well. Audio listeners, appreciate you guys downloading this, rating and review it. Make sure you guys keep continuing that. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Peace.